I thought I had found the one. Jessica and I had been together for 2 years, and everything seemed to be falling into place. She was kind, caring, and devoted to her family. I admired that about her, but I never thought her loyalty to family would become the thing that tore us apart. It all started when her sister Melissa asked us to watch her 3 kids for a weekend while she took a break. Just one weekend, she said. That weekend changed everything. Before I tell you how this all unfolded, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever been stuck in a situation where someone demanded too much from you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how I finally stood up for myself. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. The first time Melissa called it was a Thursday evening. Jessica and I were having dinner at my place when her phone rang. I could hear the panic in Melissa's voice, even from across the table. She needed help desperately, she said. Her babysitter had canceled, and she had already booked a spa weekend with her friends. It was non-refundable. Could we please watch Tyler, Madison, and Cody for just 2 days? Jessica looked at me with those pleading eyes. I had met the kids only twice before at family gatherings. They seemed energetic, but I figured, how bad could it be? I nodded, and Jessica practically jumped with joy. Melissa would drop them off Friday evening and pick them up Sunday afternoon. Simple enough. Friday came, and so did the chaos. Tyler was 7 years old with a mischievous grin that should have warned me. Madison was 5 with pigtails and an innocent face that masked her true nature. Cody was 3, still in diapers and possessed lungs that could shatter glass. Melissa dropped them off with 3 backpacks, a diaper bag, and a rushed explanation about bedtimes and food allergies that I barely caught before she was gone. The first hour was manageable. We ordered pizza and put on a cartoon movie. But then Tyler discovered my collection of vintage model cars displayed on a shelf in the living room. Before I could stop him, he had grabbed my 1967 Mustang replica and was racing it across the hardwood floor. The front bumper snapped off. I felt my chest tighten, but I told myself it was just a toy. Kids break things. It happens. Madison found my art supplies. I'm a graphic designer, and I keep professional markers and pencils in my home office. Somehow she got past the baby gate Jessica had insisted we did not need, and within minutes she had decorated my freshly painted wall with a rainbow of permanent marker. Purple flowers, green stick figures, a sun that looked more like a blob. I stood in the doorway frozen while Jessica tried to calm me down. It would wash off, she promised. It did not. Cody screamed. He screamed when he was hungry. He screamed when he was tired. He screamed when Tyler took his stuffed bear. He screamed just to hear himself scream. By Saturday morning, I had a headache that felt like someone was drilling into my skull. Jessica tried to help, but she spent most of the time on her phone coordinating with Melissa about drop-off times and dietary restrictions I was apparently supposed to have memorized. Sunday afternoon could not come fast enough. When Melissa finally arrived, she breezed through the door with a glowing tan and a relaxed smile. She barely glanced at the marker-stained wall or the broken model car. "Kids will be kids," she said with a shrug. She scooped up her children and left without even a proper thank you. I stood there exhausted and frustrated, but Jessica wrapped her arms around me and told me how amazing I was. She would make it up to me, she promised. That Tuesday, Melissa called again. Jessica answered, and I could tell from her expression what was coming. Melissa needed help this weekend too. Another last-minute situation, another urgent favor. Jessica hung up and turned to me with that same hopeful look. I had plans that weekend. My best friend Marcus had tickets to a basketball game. We had been planning it for weeks. But before I could say anything, Jessica spoke. "Melissa needs us again this weekend. Family comes first, you understand, right?" I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger yet, but discomfort. A nagging sense that this was not a one-time favor anymore. But I nodded anyway. I told Marcus I could not make it. He was disappointed but understanding. I figured it was just one more weekend. This time was worse. Tyler knocked over my television while trying to climb the entertainment center to reach a toy he had thrown on top. The screen cracked in a spiderweb pattern. Madison spilled an entire bottle of grape juice on my laptop keyboard. Sticky purple liquid seeped between the keys and the screen went black. I tried to stay calm, but my hands were shaking as I cleaned it up. Cody bit me when I tried to stop him from eating candy he found in my coat pocket. Actually bit me. Hard enough to leave teeth marks. When Melissa picked them up on Sunday, she barely acknowledged the damage. "Oh, Tyler's just curious," she said about the television. "Kids explore." She did not offer to pay for it. She did not even apologize. She just loaded her children into her minivan and drove away, already on her phone making plans for her next outing. The third week, I tried to set a boundary. I told Jessica I needed the weekend to myself. I had a major project due at work on Monday, and I was behind. I needed focus. I needed quiet. I needed my space back. Jessica went silent. She did not yell. She did not argue. She just looked at me like I had disappointed her in a way she could not put into words. "I thought you cared about my family," she said softly before turning away. That night she barely spoke to me. Her text messages were short and cold. I felt like I had done something terrible, even though all I had asked for was one weekend to catch up on work. The guilt gnawed at me. The next morning, Jessica sent me a message. "Melissa really needs help again. The kids ask for you." That last part felt like a knife. The kids ask for you. How could I say no to that? The pattern continued for the next month. Every single weekend without fail, those 3 children were at my apartment, and every single weekend, I watched pieces of my life slip away. Jessica stopped asking if I was available. She just told me when Melissa would drop off the kids. It became an expectation, not a request. I missed my mother's birthday dinner. It was her 60th, a milestone she had been looking forward to for months. Jessica promised we would make it. But Friday afternoon came and Melissa called in a panic. She had a work emergency. She needed us immediately. Jessica did not hesitate. She told my mother we could not come. "Your mom will understand," Jessica said. "But these kids need you now." My mother did understand, but I saw the hurt in her eyes when I called to apologize. My work project suffered. I'm a graphic designer for a mid-sized marketing firm, and we had landed a major client that could lead to a promotion. I needed to put in extra hours to get the designs right. But every weekend was consumed by Tyler's tantrums, Madison's messes, and Cody's endless crying. I stayed up until 3 in the morning on Sunday nights trying to finish work while my eyes burned and my mind felt like mush. Marcus invited me to go camping with our college friends. It was an annual trip we had done for 6 years straight. I had to cancel. Jessica did not even seem to register my disappointment. "If you really loved me," she said when I mentioned wanting to go, "you would help my family without complaining." That sentence echoed in my head for days. Was I being selfish? Was I wrong for wanting my own life back? Then I started noticing things that did not add up. One Saturday afternoon, while the kids were destroying my living room, I checked Instagram. There was Melissa at a luxury spa getting a massage. The caption read, "Much needed me time." But Jessica had told me Melissa was working overtime. I felt my stomach drop. I scrolled further. The weekend before, Melissa had posted pictures from a shopping trip with friends. Designer bags, fancy brunch. Not exactly the image of an overwhelmed single mother. I confronted Jessica that evening after Melissa picked up the kids. I showed her the posts. Jessica stiffened but quickly defended her sister. "She deserves a break," Jessica said. "Being a single mom is hard." I asked the question that had been building inside me for weeks. What about me? Do I not deserve a break too? Jessica looked at me like I had said something cruel. "It is different," she replied coldly. "You do not have kids. You do not understand. I felt invisible. I felt used. I felt like my needs did not matter because I was not a parent, because I did not have the same responsibilities as Melissa. But I had responsibilities too. I had a career. I had relationships. I had a life that was slowly being consumed by someone else's choices." Then Jessica's mother called me. It was a Tuesday evening, and I almost did not answer because I did not recognize the number. But I picked up, and her voice came through the line, sweet but firm. "Vincent, sweetheart, I just wanted to thank you for being so helpful with Melissa's kids. Jessica told me how wonderful you have been." Then came the nudge. "You know, a good partner supports the whole family, not just their girlfriend. Melissa could really use more help. Maybe you could watch the kids during the week too?" I was stunned. During the week I had a full-time job. I could barely manage the weekends. I mumbled something non-committal and hung up, but the message was clear. This was not just Jessica's expectation anymore. Her entire family expected me to be their on-call babysitter. Jessica started comparing me to her ex-boyfriend. David used to help without me even asking, she said one night when I expressed frustration. David never made me feel guilty for needing support. I did not know who David was or why he was suddenly the gold standard, but it stung. I was not measuring up to some phantom ex who apparently had no boundaries and infinite patience. I felt trapped. My apartment no longer felt like my own. My weekends were not mine. My time was not mine. Even my relationship did not feel like mine anymore. It felt like I was living for Melissa's convenience and Jessica's approval. My stress levels skyrocketed. I was not sleeping well. I was irritable at work. My boss noticed and pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I lied and said I was fine. It was a Friday evening in late September when everything came to a head. I had spent the entire week working on a presentation for a potential client. This was the kind of project that could change my career trajectory. My boss had made it clear that landing this account would put me in line for a senior designer position. The presentation was due Monday morning, and I still had hours of work left to do. Jessica came over to my place around 6 in the evening. I was at my desk, surrounded by sketches and color samples, my laptop open with half-finished designs. She walked in, and I could tell from her face that she was about to ask me something. "Vincent," she started. "Melissa needs us this weekend." I did not even look up from my screen. "I cannot do it this weekend," I said. "I have a huge project due Monday. This is really important." Jessica crossed her arms. "This is important too. Melissa is counting on us." I finally turned to face her. "It is not us, Jessica. It is me. You are never there. I am the one dealing with those kids alone every single weekend." She looked taken aback, as if she genuinely had not noticed. "That's not fair," she said. "I help when I can." I laughed bitterly. "You help when you can. You are on your phone the entire time. You disappear to make coffee runs that take an hour. You leave me alone with 3 kids who do not listen and destroy everything I own." Jessica's expression hardened. "You're being selfish. Melissa does not have anyone else. What is she supposed to do?" I stood up from my chair. "What about what I'm supposed to do? What about my job, my life, my needs? Or do those not matter because I am not a parent?" She stepped closer, her voice low and sharp. "If you cannot be there for my family, then maybe you are not the man I thought you were." The room went silent. Those words hung in the air like poison. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Then she said it. The ultimatum. "Step up or get out, Vincent. If you cannot handle this, then I do not know if we have a future together." I stared at her. This woman I had loved for 2 years, this woman I had imagined building a life with, she had just reduced our entire relationship to whether or not I would babysit her sister's children. I took a deep breath. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "You are right, Jessica," I said. "I'm getting out." Her eyes widened. "What, you cannot be serious?" I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair. "I am completely serious. I have given up my weekends, my work, my friends, even my family for your family. And it is never enough." She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "Your sister is using us. She is not overwhelmed. She is just lazy. And you are enabling her." Jessica's face turned red. "How dare you talk about my sister like that?" I shook my head. "I love you, Jessica. But I will not be a free babysitter for the rest of my life. I will not sacrifice everything I have worked for because your sister refuses to take responsibility for her own kids." I walked toward the door. She followed me, her voice rising. "If you walk out that door, we are done. Do you hear me? We are done." I stopped and turned to face her one last time. "I know, and I'm okay with that." The look on her face was a mixture of shock and anger. She could not believe I was actually leaving, but I was. I opened the door, and walked out into the cool evening air. My heart was breaking, but at the same time, I felt lighter than I had in months, like a weight I had been carrying had finally been lifted. That night, my phone would not stop ringing. Jessica called 17 times. I counted. I did not answer. The text messages started coming in waves. First, they were angry. "You are so selfish. You never really cared about me." Then, they shifted to desperation. "Please, we can work this out. I love you. Do not do this." But I did not respond. I turned off my phone and focused on my project. I worked through the entire weekend. No interruptions, no screaming kids, no broken belongings, just me, my designs, and the quiet hum of my computer. By Sunday evening, I had finished the presentation. It was some of my best work. When I presented it Monday morning, my boss and the client were impressed. 2 weeks later, I got the promotion. The first week after the breakup was strange. My apartment felt too quiet. I kept expecting to hear the doorbell ring and see Melissa standing there with her 3 kids, but it never came. I felt lonely, but I also felt something I had not felt in a long time. Peace. Marcus came over that first weekend. He brought beer and pizza, and we sat on my couch watching the game I had missed months ago. "Bro," he said during halftime, "you did the right thing. You were drowning." I did not realize how bad it was until you told me everything. I appreciated his support, but part of me still wondered if I had made a mistake. Had I given up too easily? Should I have tried harder to make it work? But then Jessica kept texting, and the messages were not about reconciliation or apologies. They were about blame. "Melissa is struggling now. This is your fault. You abandoned us when we needed you most." I realized then that she still did not see the problem. She still thought I was the one being unreasonable. I blocked her number. The second weekend, I did something I had not done in months. I went hiking. Marcus and 3 other friends from college joined me. We drove 2 hours to a state park and spent the day climbing trails and talking about everything except relationships. The air was crisp, the leaves were turning orange and red, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. I started going to a yoga class on Tuesday evenings. It was something I had always wanted to try but never had time for. The instructor was a calm woman in her 50s who talked about balance and boundaries and letting go of things that no longer served you. Every session felt like therapy. At work, things were looking up. The promotion came with a significant raise and more creative freedom. I was assigned to lead a team on a new campaign for a tech startup. The hours were long, but I did not mind because I was passionate about the work. My boss pulled me aside one afternoon and told me she had noticed a change in me. "You seem more focused," she said. "Whatever you are doing, keep it up." I reconnected with my mother. We started having dinner every Sunday. She never said "I told you so," but I could see the relief in her eyes. She had been worried about me, she admitted. "You seem so tired all the time, so stretched thin. I am glad you are taking care of yourself now." Those words meant more to me than she probably realized. 2 months after the breakup, Marcus told me something that made my blood run cold. He had run into Jessica at a coffee shop. She was not alone. She was with a guy Marcus did not recognize, and they looked cozy. He asked around and found out it was Melissa's new husband. Apparently, Melissa had gotten married 3 weeks after Jessica and I broke up, which meant she no longer needed a babysitter. I sat with that information for a long time. It confirmed what I'd suspected all along. I had never been a partner to Jessica. I had been a solution to her sister's problem, and once that problem was solved, another way I was disposable. The relationship had not been about love or commitment, it had been about convenience. I did not feel angry. I felt sad for the time I had wasted, for the ED, sad for the version of myself who had bent over backward trying to be enough for someone who never truly valued me. But I also felt grateful. Grateful that I had finally stood up for myself. Grateful that I had walked away before wasting any more years. One evening I was cleaning out my closet and found an old photo of Jessica and me from our first year together. We were at a beach laughing, her head on my shoulder. We looked happy. I stared at that photo for a long time, remembering the good moments. Because there had been good moments. but they had been buried under expectations and demands and a slow erosion of my boundaries. I kept the photo not because I wanted to hold on to the past, but because I wanted to remember the lesson. Love should not feel like a job. Relationships should not drain you until there is nothing left. And if someone truly cares about you, they will not ask you to sacrifice everything while they sacrifice nothing. I started seeing a therapist. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I had let things go so far, why I had ignored the red flags, why I had kept saying yes when every part of me wanted to say no. She helped me see that I had been afraid of being seen as selfish, afraid of disappointing people, afraid of being alone. But being alone was better than being used. I learned that setting boundaries was not selfish. It was self-respect. That saying no did not make me a bad person. It made me someone who valued my own time and energy. That some people would take and take and take until you had nothing left to give. And when you finally said no, they would call you selfish. They would make you the villain in their story. But that did not make it true. These days, my weekends are mine again. I sleep in on Saturdays, I go to the gym, I work on personal art projects that have nothing to do with clients or deadlines. I visit friends, I travel, I breathe, and I've never felt freer. My apartment is quiet and clean. My model car collection is intact. My walls are unmarked. My laptop works. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed, if I had kept bending until I broke. I probably would have lost my job, lost my friends, lost myself. And Jessica still would have left eventually because I could never have been enough. The demands would have kept growing until there was nothing left of me. Walking away was the hardest thing I had ever done, but it was also the best thing, because it taught me that I deserved better, that my life mattered, that my dreams and goals and boundaries were valid, that I did not have to light myself on fire to keep someone else warm. So if you are in a situation where someone is demanding more than you can give, where you feel like you are drowning under the weight of their expectations, I want you to know this. You are not selfish for wanting your life back. You are not wrong for setting boundaries. And you are not obligated to sacrifice everything just because someone expects you to. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk out that door and never look back. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were giving everything and getting nothing in return? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk about boundaries or relationships and choosing yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you find the courage to choose yourself too. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember that your peace of mind is worth more than anyone's approval.